Hello, everybody. Welcome to Creative Perceptions. This is episode 3. Finally starting to get in the hang of this. Today, I have a very, very special guest. I have my line brother, my friend,
Yeah.
my amigo. Yes, sir. Quinton Dulic. He's the current high school varsity basketball coach at the Avalon School. Tell him a bit about yourself, Q. Thanks for coming on.
Man, it's an honor to be on, bro. Appreciate you having me. A little bit about myself. Quinton Dulic. Originally from Montgomery County,
Hey,
Maryland. MoCo stand up. Um, and went to Morgan State University,
hey.
where I graduated in 2014, actually. And now grinding my way through different coaching positions in the Baltimore area as well as Montgomery County area. And right now, that led me to right now where I am the head basketball coach at the Avalon School as well as an educator. And
Hey,
happily married. June 24th will
hey.
be 3 years, bro.
3.
3 years. Yeah, it's
Golly. I
going by
had no
so
hair
fast.
at the wedding. I had no
Yeah,
hair.
right. Exactly,
Oh,
exactly,
God.
exactly. So, man, God is good. So that here I am.
All the time. Well, thank you for having us. All right, man. All right, I'm excited. 3 years. Wow. All right, so we're gonna get into it. All right, so tell me, how did you get into coaching? One thing I admire because I met you in 2012, right before we went online. And I never understood why you were always so busy. And now I look at it, I was like, gosh, I was really rude to Quentin, so I apologize. But you were always busy, and I just admired that you were like always on the go, and you were about what you needed to do. And I've never seen somebody use so much gas and make it look
Yeah,
easy.
right.
All right. So tell me how you got into coaching, or like kind of paint out the journey, like how you started and like some of the places you coached at.
Sure, sure. Yeah, man. It started really, really early for me, man. It was growing up, played sports all my life, and I loved it, and I was good at it. Wasn't always the best athlete, um, but I mentally I had an advantage because I can really think the game, especially in basketball. Once I realized that playing basketball in college wasn't going to be for me, I knew I wanted to be a basketball coach. I love the interaction with players. I love working out guys, and then on top of that, I love mentoring. I had my uncle Derek Burrows, who's like a big brother to me. Was I've seen him being a mentor, and I was like, man, I want to do that too. So it was basically mentoring and basketball put in one. Coaching is exactly what I wanted to do, and I knew that in my senior year in high school. I knew it, so I started. I couldn't play because I hurt my knee. I tore my knee up
Ooh.
at Rockville. I tore my ACL, my MCL, my LCL.
Oh
So
God.
yeah, so sports was done for me. So I had to really pivot quickly. So I was like, I'm gonna just go ahead and student coach, and then and I started coaching every single season up until then because I wanted to do it full time, and I knew to go back to what you were talking about how I was always busy and traveling. I'm not the 6'5", former college player
Right.
or pro player. I'm a shorter guy, so I knew my route was going to be different, so it took a little bit more out of me.
Hmm.
So I just grinded, and anything I could volunteer for, I was there. I was a sponge. I shut my mouth and I listened to a lot of
That's good.
OGs in the game, and decided to, as my father put it, eat the meat and throw away the bone. So so this year will be my 14th season coaching
Wow.
basketball, right? So
Wow.
that's how I got it. I love the interaction with the guys. I love the relationship building, and I love teaching life through basketball.
That's awesome. So one thing that you mentioned, you talked about volunteering, which I think is a lost art today. Everybody wants the high paying internship or the job right away. But kind of talk to me about some of the places, like list some of the places like where you first started. Like you said you got a student experience. I'm assuming you were working with the basketball team at
Oh yeah,
Morgan.
okay.
And what are some places like where you after you left there, what are some places that you used to sharpen your skills as far as coaching? Like what were some of the opportunities that presented itself after you were a student coach? Or help me
Absolutely,
out with that.
absolutely. Well, I got my start at Rockville High School. That's where I went. And then from there, I spent 2 years as the head manager at Morgan State University.
Wow.
And the way I got onto that was I was walking through the Hill Field House where the gym is, and I saw like a help wanted sign on the wall for those who were
Wow.
interested in helping out the team. So I was like, oh, that would be cool. And once I got in, through my work ethic and things like that, they saw my sincerity of how I wanted to help and was willing to grind. And I kind of
Mm.
just moved up the rankings a little bit to the point where I was traveling to every game. I was basically one of the guys. I was learning from the coaches. So I did that, and that was some of my, the best couple years of my life. I learned so much about the game. We were able to
Wow.
beat University of Maryland. That was a highlight. We
Oh,
went to
that
the
was that
NCAA
year.
tournament. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
man. Yeah, and we went to the NCAA tournament a couple of years, so I got 2 rings. So that experience that was the one that
Wow.
kind of catapulted me. That's like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And then from there, I volunteered at Clarksburg High School
Wow.
for
My alma
a
mater,
few years. Yeah,
allegedly.
and then after that, I went to Mount Zion Prep School
Wow.
in Baltimore and worked there for a couple of years. And all of these things, I knew I was volunteering, but I knew at the same time I was gaining experience.
Mm.
It's a sacrifice, but as long as you keep your eye on the prize, on the goal, it makes that sacrifice worth it. It's a lot of us, we get burnt out or we don't want to volunteer or because we, kind of we lose our sight of the goal. We lose
Right.
sight of why we're doing this in the first place. So I try to constantly talk to myself and say, okay, here's your why, here's your why, here's your why, here's your
Mhm.
why. And that helped in a
Mhm.
lot of days, a lot of nights of me driving on the road. That helped me a
Mhm.
lot.
Wow, that's awesome. So originally I had a different question, but going with the flow of the conversation, not to put everything out there, but I truly believe experiences and obstacles at certain times definitely help other people that are going through the same thing,
Sure,
maybe in a
sure.
different capacity.
Right.
But knowing you as my brother, I know that during your time at Morgan, there were a few obstacles while you were an undergraduate passing certain courses, and graduation was close on so many occasions, but kind of
Yes.
slipped away. Can you walk us through like your mental process and how that sharpened you today? So like, how did you pull yourself out of that situation, and
Mhm.
how's it impacted you today? Like, how's it benefited you today?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, I spent a few years as the head manager of the basketball team. So I was gaining great experience
Mm.
on the court. I was hanging out with the coaches and learning. But at the same time, my academics was suffering so much, man. It was
Mm-hmm.
like um, I, I struggled with time management. I struggled
Right.
with priorities. I struggled with accountability, responsibility. Those things I struggled with, and as a result in that, um, I ended after about 2.5 years. I had a 1.8 GPA,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a letter from the dean at the time and said, Mr. Dulic, I'm sorry to inform you that we can't have you back for next semester. And that right there
I didn't
rocked
know
my
that.
world, and
Oh
because
wow.
that's not what I wanted to do. That's not what I wanted to be. I'm not a failure. That's not me. I'm grinding. I'm working. But I felt at that time that there was a crossroads. I was at a crossroads. So right then and there, through the grace of God, I was able to come back and achieve and really buckle down
Right.
to get 3.0, 3.5 GPAs and to raise my GPA each and every semester. And
Right.
then I had to take this one class. It was anatomy and physiology.
Well, I remember that. I was like, well,
Anatomy
you
and
can have that.
physiology is such a tough class. I was at the brink of graduating. I was like, wow. So I came in 2008. So mind you, the regular way to do it is usually 4 years and you graduate in
Right.
2012.
Right.
My way is I couldn't pass this class for nothing. I was like, why can't I pass this one class? So
Mm-hmm.
long story short, it took me a few times to go through the class,
Right.
and I passed and I graduated 2014. So it was a 6-year period of me matriculating through school, and it helped me because I immediately knew that I could use my story, my experiences to go
Right.
back and help others. You know, I went
Right.
through it for the benefit of other young men. So I changed my perspective. Like, it wasn't a woe is me anymore. It wasn't a why me. It was a why
Mm-hmm.
not me. You know, so I
Yeah.
used my experiences. So when I tell my guys at the high school or AAU or whoever that's willing to listen, you know, I preach, you know, bad habits. You know,
Right.
it was a. Now that I look as I get older, I know that wall that was blocking me from success, that wall that was blocking me from where I wanted to go, was a
Right.
wall of bad habits. You know, it was a
Right.
wall of bad habits that included procrastination and bad time management. So once I, you know, conquered that wall, you know, it helped. So I'm always telling the guys, you know, hey, break that habit, because if you don't break it, it's going to follow you. And it was the habits that I developed from probably middle school, you know. And so to answer your question, I know it was a long answer.
No, no, you're good.
I used everything kind of that I went through, my experiences, and I kind of reshaped my perspective. Like, okay, I went through it for a reason, so now it's time to
Right.
give back.
That's good that you bring that up, because a lot of times, especially with the younger generation that's coming up, you have to have something. You have to have a story, something relatable for them to latch on to the vision. So I think
Absolutely.
that's really awesome. So how do you, now that you're married and then you're an educator, I know the ultimate goal is to become a full-time college coach, but in the
Hmm.
meantime, how do you separate basketball from your personal life and find balance, making sure that you spend time with family? I know me personally, when I'm writing my stories or when I'm in the zone, sometimes I
Hmm.
tend to be like, I gotta get this done, but then I realize that sometimes you neglect, people around you. So how, as a coach, educator, and everything else that you do, married man,
Hmm.
how do you balance your time? How do you find the
Yeah, I
balance?
mean, you said it. The key word is balance. You know, you first you prioritize things. So you know, in my life, it's God, it's family, and then my career, and that's how I live my life. And and I've always heard from OGs in the game that you when you're wherever your feet are, that's where your time needs to be. So whether I'm at
Mm-hmm.
home, my wife's gonna get my undivided attention 110%. You know, I'm going to make sure that the time that we spend together is not filled with text messages or phone calls or
Right.
me thinking about the practice plan or recruiting or anything like that. I'm gonna make sure that I'm locked in, you know, the time at home, but at the same time, you know, when I'm in the gym, I'm
Right.
locked into that. So
Right.
I try to use that balance that wherever I spend my time, it's I heard, and I also heard it from Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, that made him
Okay.
successful as well. When he was at home, he was able to just the same focus he put towards basketball, he put towards being a father and a husband, and that's definitely something that I strive to do.
He did make fatherhood look very cool. Rest in peace, Kobe. He
Right?
did. He did. He made fatherhood look really cool. All right. So great answer. So my next thing is being a coach coming up in this generation. I know I keep saying generation, but the reality is it was completely different when we were growing up in the '90s,
Sure, sure.
um, early 2000s, especially with sport, church, education, whatever you name it. What tell me what your thoughts are, or what your perspective is. What are some of the differences you see in the community from childhood to now?
uh, it's a good question.
This is a
Right
don't get
off the
fired topic, Quentin. This is a don't
Say it
get fired.
again.
This is a don't get fired topic. So you know,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm just
no,
kidding. Go
no,
ahead.
no, no, no.
I'm just kidding.
But it's the truth. I'm going to be spitting facts.
Right.
One thing is accountability, man. To be honest, one of the differences that I see is accountability. Cats
Lack
are
thereof, or more of lack of.
the lack thereof. The lack thereof. Um, you know, we it seems like nowadays there's more excuses that are acceptable. You know, instead of if you have a goal, you know, you do whatever it takes. You grind, you hustle, you work your
Right.
tail off to achieve that goal. Instead, it seems like right now you have a goal, and then and adversity happens. It's like, oh no, well, I'm gonna forget it. I'm gonna go to our next thing. I'm gonna go to something else. We see that in the NCAA where a lot of transfers is going on. It's like, dude, why are you transferring? Because you didn't play your first year? No, like,
right.
you
Figure it out.
use that experience, you get better, you work your tail off, and you grind your way so you can work your way up the ladder, because that's how the real world works. You know what I'm saying? So if I see a lot of this generation, just the mental toughness, if you will, is kind of slick. It's slacking, and that's something that is really evident.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer. So one thing that I admire about your coaching, not to say that you're not brilliant in the X's and O's, because you are brilliant in X's and O's. You spoke about it earlier. I think you're a phenomenal coach. But the one thing, whenever I look at you coach, I look at how you really interact with the players, and it's like, I remember when shout out to Shanae, we went to I forgot where they played at, but I came out there to that game, and they were losing by double digits. But you said, I forgot what you said. It was something along the lines of, even if you're losing, you shouldn't play like losers. Like, mentally, you still have to be playing like you still have a shot to win. And they went on maybe like a 10-0 run and kind of closed the gap. But then, obviously the team, it was when you played Coach Kissel. I won't say good counsel.
Okay.
Yeah, and I remember that. And you were saying you're playing like I forgot what you said, but it was brilliant. But I always see how you mentor, and in the relationships you have, you're one of those coaches that they used to say back in the day, still do. Players will run through a wall for you because you actually harvest and build those relationships, which I think is very epic.
Yeah.
How do you connect with kids? When we were just talking about the general differences with lack of mental strength or whatever the case. How do you still make that connection?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I pride myself on. First and foremost as a coach is building that relationship. And number one, what I try to do is let them know that I care. I care and genuinely care. Not I care because I want to get something out of you for me. No, I'm in this for you. And the more that they know that you're in it for them and that you really care, then you earn that trust. So you're able to be honest with them. And my particular style, I don't like tearing guys down. I don't do that. I always try to keep their confidence. I tell it to them straight, and I give them a real answer. But you can do it without, cussing them out. You can do it without just beating them up. There's other ways to do it. So my philosophy,
like Tony Dungy.
Yeah, exactly. My coaching philosophy is on inspiration and motivation as opposed to fear. You know what I'm saying? If the players fear you, then they're not going to be open enough to be freely to either share certain things with you or even play to the best of their ability. So I constantly make sure that they're confident and letting their instincts take over. And if they do make mistakes, hey, mistakes happen. That's life. That's a part of life. And that's why I love coaching the game of basketball, because basketball and life, they mirror each other.
Yes, they do.
Just like a turnover is equivalent to a mistake going on in the real world. Just because you turn the ball over, it doesn't mean that, my life is over or the game is over. Okay, you turn the ball over, hustle back, and try to make it right. And then you make it right, then we're all squared. It's just like life. So I try to keep that perspective while coaching and teaching, because I am an educator. I do educate my guys. I just use the game of basketball. That's my classroom. So relationship is real important, and I make sure that I'm honest with them and they know that I care.
That's awesome, and I think that will continue to. I think that philosophy will definitely continue to elevate you wherever you go, or because we definitely. I personally, I tell you all the time, I see you coaching at the college level, no problem. just the right opportunity. All right. So we're moving on from the first segment. Got to know a bit about Q. We're gonna go on to the quick strike. All right. So quick strike meaning quick answer, kind of like Foot Locker. You know, we get a certain amount of sneakers, a certain brand, and really quick, you know, and then they run out. You know how it goes.
Okay.
All right. So who's the best athlete ever?
The best athlete ever is LeBron James.
Okay, LeBron James.
LeBron James.
All right. Who's your role model coach?
Ooh, that's a good one. My role model coach is John Wooden. John Wooden, and
Wow. Taking it back.
yeah, right, old school, old school. He coached in like the 50s and 60s and 70s, but his philosophy on the game is just it's some good stuff.
Gotcha. All right. Who do you style? I guess this is kind of synonymous. Who do you style your coaching after? Would it still be John Wooden?
Yeah, it's a little
Gotcha.
bit of John Wooden, a little bit of Tony Bennett, who is the head coach at UVA. It's a little bit of my good friend Sam Brand, who is the head coach at Baltimore
Ollie, right?
Polytechnic Institute.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everyone. I sample out of a little bit of everyone that I come in contact with. So yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So we're moving on. That was the quick strike segment. I should have created more. That was actually pretty
Woo.
cool. That was probably the smoother one.
Those were hot seat questions.
All right, cool. So the next section or segment is all caps or no caps. All caps meaning it's a lie. No caps meaning it's not. So you can start off by saying, you know, so like if I say it's 100 degrees outside, obviously that'd be all caps. You start off saying all caps, and then you could provide a short explanation if you want.
Okay.
So you already said LeBron James is the greatest athlete of all time. So the first one, the Last Dance documentary ended the MJ versus LBJ debate. Or use this one too.
That's all caps.
Okay, so LeBron has a chance to still catch him.
He still got a chance, yo.
What does he have to do?
He still has a chance, and his legacy is it's not over. His story is not over. I believe that when it's all said and done, LeBron will be able to stand alone on the throne as the basketball king. No disrespect to MJ though.
What does he have to do?
He doesn't see. It's kind of tricky because I think right now, if he retires right now because of his all around ability, everyone says he's the best all around basketball player. Now it's just little tiny accolades like maybe another championship ring or him being an all-time lead scorer or being like top 2 in assists. Little things like that to be able to put a cherry on top of his resume.
All right. I will say I've said it. If he wins 1 or 2 rings in Los Angeles, I think it's over. Because everybody last year was Kenny winning the West, and he's doing it. Hopefully this season comes back. All right. This one you're probably gonna hate a little bit. The Washington Wizards will win a championship before the Washington Redskins.
Ooh. No cap.
I can see that. As long as y'all don't do anything dumb and trade Bradley Beal, so then that.
Exactly.
Right.
I've seen I've seen Boston come from not a good team to being a good team.
Yeah.
So many teams have made that turnaround. So it's possible.
Right. Okay. All right, good. Has the one and done ruined NBA basketball or the quality? The fact that players are finishing after because realistically, you have maybe 5 or 7 not even 5, 7, maybe 5 players that that can change a franchise, and then the rest are kind of like role players. Do you think the one and done is affecting the overall quality of the league?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Because if anything, it allows those players to get a little bit more mature, before they enter the league, as opposed to coming out of straight out of high school. So they're better coming out as opposed to going straight in from high school, and then everyone wins in that case. Everyone definitely wins.
Right. That's true. I would say it just seems like Calipari is the only one that really has the real solution because I would say everybody that comes out of Kentucky, geesh.
Game like that, right?
Right. All right. So after COVID-19 is over, will church be an afterthought or will it improve the level of attendance?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Oh, no problem. So, with the COVID going on, we've seen
Hmm.
an increase of online streaming for church. Once COVID is over, do you think we'll see a drop in attendance in church? Will it be relevant or will it be irrelevant?
Um, so here's my thought. I think there will be an increase, and what I mean by that is I think it will be an increase in attendance, maybe not per se from bodies actually going to the four walls. I
Right.
think this pandemic kind of made the church and then just really various organizations become a little bit more creative in how they
Right.
presented certain content. So now you have a lot of churches and even schools, streaming and using different platforms and media platforms online. So now when we get back to normal, I think the church services who didn't have streaming online, they're going to continue that, and therefore bring in a new wave, a whole new wave of members that way. So it's kind of a tricky answer because
Hmm.
while the bodies may stay the same or decrease, I think the
Hmm.
attendance or the presence by way of media would definitely increase.
Awesome answer. That's a good perspective. All right. So I kind of this last one was kind of all caps and no caps, but no, it is. There are positive sides to think about despite COVID-19. So there are positive takeaways that you can take away from this pandemic.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts?
Um, yeah, just one is just you kind of be forced in certain situations to reinvent yourself or adapt.
Right.
Instead
Right.
of a lot of times we can be used to the same old routine, and we
Right.
get redundant. And I believe the best way to grow, the start of growth starts with being uncomfortable, right?
Right.
Getting out of the box a little bit. You know, that's the kind of prerequisite of growth. Um,
Right.
Without any adversity, you don't learn or you don't gain experience. So this whole pandemic brought adversity and forced us to grow from it. It forced us to adapt. It forced us to evolve.
Mm.
So therefore, at the end of it, we can look back and say, "Wow, if it wasn't for this pandemic,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be who I am today." So, for me personally, I'm now become a little bit more savvy on the technical side because of the being in the
Right.
pandemic, and I've also got some things done at home, some projects that I've been
Mm.
wanting to do. I realized that wow, I can build this shelf. I can go out and purchase this washer and dryer online and things like that. So I found out a little bit more about myself through it. So yeah.
All right. All right. Well, Coach Q, man. Last thing before you go, if you could tell your younger self or give advice to anybody who is looking to pursue their dreams or make an impact or just add more to the world that God has created, what would your words be? Quick and powerful.
Okay. Um, don't be ashamed of what you can't do. Don't focus on your weaknesses. A lot of us we tend to focus a lot on weakness, um, but if you believe in God, you believe in that. In the scripture, it says that His power is made perfect in weakness.
Mm-hmm.
So just know that there's a plan for you. God has a plan for you. Keep trusting, keep believing, and that the phrase "trust the process." I know it's redundant, but it's
That's
so
real.
true. And
Yeah.
trust the process. And in my life is just trusting God. So stay prayed up, stay faithful to the grind, and everything will work out for your good.
All right, there you have it. Quinton Dulic, thanks for joining the show, man. We appreciate it. Where can the people find you at on social media?
Yeah, man. I'm only on Twitter at Coach Q_Dulic. That's my Twitter. Please feel free to follow. I'm a little bit of a dinosaur, so I need to get into Instagram.
It's not all cracked up to be. You're fine.
That's coming.
All right. There you have it. Thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate you.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
You were with me.